Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. You're in for a sweet treat. We get to talk about ice cream. Here with us is Cody Nash. He's the co-owner and ice cream maker with Nash Family Creamery. And let's start out, Cody. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing well. So 4 generations going strong. Give us a little bit of a history, because obviously this is a family business on your end, 1929. So give us a history lesson for the Nash family business.
So we originate from Central California. We were near Fresno. My great grandparents, they started the dairy, started out with about 20, 30 cows. They all ended up getting sick, like right as the Great Depression started, had to start all over. And then just moved up from there. My grandfather grew the herd to about 200 cows, and then my father grew the herd to about 1,200 cows. And then in about 2013, we decided we needed to move, change business, climate. And so we started the move out to Tennessee, moved 1,800 head of cattle, about 6 employees, tractors, built a whole new dairy barn. So now we've been here since about 2013, opened the creamery in September of this last year. So
fill us in where you are geographically, because you're just south of Nashville. Give us kind of the landmarks.
There's a little bit of a local, I don't know how to word it, but a little bit of a local rift in terms of where we're at, because we're kind of close to Unionville. So we're directly south of Nashville on 41A, but our postal code is Chapel Hill, Tennessee. So it's a little bit confusing, but we're directly south of Nashville, about 25 miles.
Give us an idea of, like you mentioned, kind of the scope, the number of cattle. Like, walk us through kind of the geography, so to speak, in terms of what's on the farm, and then obviously with the creamery as well.
Yeah, so the creamery is located right on the front of our farm here. It's about 500 acres. So in the back, we have a working dairy. We grow feed for our cows 365 days a year. We milk 2 times a day, 1,200 cows about, and we make about 9,000 gallons of milk a day, every day of the year, every day of the week. So it's a working farm. There's a lot to do, especially when you toss on the creamery side of things. But it's a family business through and through, and there's different members involved in different stages, doing lots of different things. So yeah, a lot going on.
Well, I know the creamery was something for you personally to kind of expand and launch into. Talk about what led you to expand into the creamery, and then we'll dive into all the ice cream flavors.
Yeah, that's right. So years ago, I saw some other people that were doing, we call it value added. So they're taking their raw product from their dairies, and they were the first example I saw, putting it into glass bottled milk like they used to do way back in the day. And it was a really phenomenal product. The glass kept the milk extra cold. So I was like, well, if this family's doing it, why can't we do something like that? So that's kind of started a journey of looking at different ways to add value to the milk that we make at the dairy, and eventually settled on making ice cream after working at Rosa Brothers, which was that first company that I saw, and then working at Young's Jersey Dairy up in Ohio. Decided ice cream was the way to go. So here we are.
How much of that, when you look at stepping into that, how much kind of capital infrastructure, was that a pretty easy move? Was it a very difficult move? What was that like on the business side?
It was somewhat straightforward. I mean, it was a lot of our own personal money and then some loan money also. So we went a couple different ways, tried some different routes, and just ended up with kind of like a basic commercial loan that financed part of the project, and then used personal capital to finance the rest. So, and it worked out really good because we were able to buy, it's about an extra acre that was up here that we didn't own, that's on the corner of our property. So we were able to purchase that and kind of square up our property and put the creamery close to home. So when something kind of goes crazy at the creamery, we're able to get there quickly. So short commute.
Yeah, which is always nice.
Yeah.
Talk about the ice cream flavors and the strategy behind that, because you've got obviously you've got the vanilla, but you have chocolate brownie batter, you have butter pecan, you have minty chocolate swirl, blueberry cheesecake, southern pecan pie, coffee. I mean, you've got like coffee breaks. You've got a lot of flavors. So talk about the science behind the flavors.
Yeah. So like when we were traveling, what I noticed was people in different ice cream shops and creameries and stuff around the country, we looked at so many that local flavors where they were able to take whether it be a local dessert or just like a local taste that people liked and turn it into an ice cream flavor that's where the shop really started to shine. So we've tried to do that here, whether it's a Southern Pecan Pie. We just did a recent one that's a creamy sun drop that's just, it's taken off. It went crazy on Facebook and had a ton of shares. So it's just stuff like that, just really trying to bring in some local flavors and make people excited about it. Vanilla and chocolate are stuff that sell a lot and people like it. Then there's flavors that people get excited about, and it helps spread word of mouth. So that's what we try to incorporate that into. And it's really fun to come up with new flavors and try it. And I have employees that are around when I'm making a new batch, like, hey, come back there and try this and see if it's any good. So it's a lot of trial and error too.
You also, too, you've got grilled cheese, you have cinnamon rolls and cobblers and pies and all sorts of stuff. So talk about some of the other offerings.
Yeah, so we have a baker that's in-house, Nikki, and she does a really good job making different cookies and, like you said, cinnamon rolls and stuff that go along with the seasons. We sell local meat from a place called Potts out of War Trace. So they make really good pork and beef. That's what we carry here. They have more than just that. And then we have some local honey, some local like barbecue sauces and rubs. We sell like merchandise, like hats and shirts, stuff like that. And then the gourmet grilled cheeses that we make. There's about 8 different ones, I believe, on the board right now. And they're all really good. We make them all in-house, fresh to order. And then we have some really good sides that go along with that too. Our mac and cheese is second to almost none, I'd say. It's pretty darn good. So yeah, there's a full service restaurant aspect to it also, which is cool.
What do you want everyone to know in terms of the experience? So when you talk about bringing your family down, especially, and making it an experience, making it a fun trip, what do you want everyone to know about just the experience of being a part of what you're doing?
I'd say a lot of it for people is just driving out and getting out of the city, whether they're based in Murfreesboro or Franklin or Nolensville. Something that's cool about us is that, not just the product, but like the experience of coming out and seeing the countryside, especially right now as trees are starting to get their leaves back, and just getting out of the city and seeing a little bit of the countryside. I think that's a big aspect of it. And that's why we have such a big weekend rush, is people they just want to go drive. And especially since it's like away from people with like some coronavirus stuff right now. I think that's helped us out to some degree. And just that we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that we're putting out a really quality product. And I think it helps us stay competitive, and it offers people a really good experience. So a lot of the product, but then also a lot of like the ambiance in the area, and being up on a hill and being able to look out over our farm and seeing flowers that are blooming right now. It's really cool. So
I think the education side, especially for young kids, to be able to, one, enjoy the ice cream and the food, but to be able to know and see like, this is how ice cream is made. I mean, you're a part of a dairy farm, so you get to go and you see that. And I know that kind of the tours and the education side is something that you're working toward on your end, but I just think the education side is a big piece too that makes it fun, especially for families and kids.
Yeah, absolutely. My she's starting to do some tours right now, so we're experimenting with that. And for one, it shows people, where the milk comes from. It just doesn't come from Kroger or Publix. It comes from a farm with people and cows and feed and stuff like that. So it educates them. And it also, I feel, creates a lot of brand loyalty. So when people see that, the origins of the product, and then see how it's made and meet the people, see the people who are making that product, I think it really adds to brand loyalty. And people, when you get into the wholesale market and when they have the option to buy other people's product, I think it's something that's going to help us a lot in the long run to keep our product competitive over someone that might be a national brand. It's cool to meet new people too. So
yeah, what's something you want everyone to know about just being a dairy farmer? When you talk about being in the business for generations, what's something that you want? It could be around the care of the animals, the love of what you do, but what's something you want everyone to know just in general about what you do and just being a dairy farmer? Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot that goes into dairy farming, for one. So we're not just milking cows. You're a nutritionist. You're a veterinarian. You're a farmer. You're a mechanic. I mean, you wear a lot of different hats when you're doing dairy farming. So there's just a lot that goes into it. And that dairy farmers, they care for their cows. There's a lot of bad press that circulates nowadays. But the fact of the matter is, people in dairy farming, for one, they enjoy it, but two, they're in it to make money. And if you don't take care of your business, which is the cows, then you won't make it. So it just makes sense that dairy farmers, they care for their cows, they care for their herd. And there's a lot that goes into that. We have multiple nutritionists with tons of letters behind their names that take a lot of care to make sure that cows get every single micronutrient and macronutrient on a daily basis. So there's just a lot that goes into it in terms of cow care, and it's fun to show people all the effort that we put into stuff like that.
Talk about events and the opportunities to do even more, especially as the weather gets even better and warmer. So you have a lot of upcoming events. Talk about events.
Yeah. So this weekend we have a vendor fair that we're gonna have our second one. The first one went really well. A lot of our vendors were excited about how it went. So we have that second one coming up, and we're doing them all summer. So we get more applicants as time goes on. There's a lot of cool stuff that's sold out there. And then May 1st, we're doing an event with Angel Heart Farms, and they work with kids that are sick and have cancer, and they teach them how to care for horses and compete and take care of a horse. So it's a really noble cause. So we're teaming up with them on May 1st to do an event to raise some money for that cause. And I think we're also going to be watching the Kentucky Derby. So we call it Derby Days. So that'd be a really cool event. And then we're just doing stuff throughout the summer. If people follow us on social media, they can kind of catch and see what we're doing. There's going to be a car show. There's going to be live music incorporated into those events. And then we're going to be having our sunflowers that'll be coming up probably August, September. And then we'll have a corn maze in about September, October. So we try to make sure there's always something going on to give people a reason to make that drive out.
Yeah, I was about to say the fact that you have plenty of opportunities year round. And like you said, even with the fall, being able to lead into, October and the pumpkins and all sorts of really cool opportunities to tie in thematically with what you're doing. Share a little bit because you have a new outside pavilion, additional seating for events. So talk about that side of being able to host larger events and do larger things like that.
Yeah. So with this pavilion, we're hoping what we can do is have birthday parties and even smaller corporate events, and host people that are just trying to bring a group of people together and have it where it's not so dependent on the weather being nice, but that way it's enclosed and has a roof and everything. So that's going to be an aspect of doing individual events, but then also bringing that new space into our bigger public events like the vendor days and stuff like that. So it's exciting that we've been blessed enough to put something up like that in the first 7 months of being open. So came along really good. So
what's something that you've learned during the pandemic that you think is going to make you stronger coming out? And it might be related to technology or just innovation, but what's something you think that going through this process over the last year plus at this point is going to make you stronger coming out?
I think one is how fragile the supply chain can end up being when something pops up, and that something as simple as food can become scarce. So that's something that people, I feel like for years down the road, are going to remember when they couldn't find meat, or they couldn't find chicken, or they couldn't find dairy products at stores. So I think that'll end up creating a bond with consumers, that they're going to want to know where their product comes from, who's making it, is it safe? Are they going to have it if there's a snowstorm, if there's another global pandemic? I think it's going to build the bonds between consumers and producers a lot more than I think we saw before. And I think it's going to be, I'm hoping, beneficial to people like us that are smaller, but we're transparent in the way that we make a product and deliver it to the marketplace.
I feel like the whole farm to table movement, especially that you see with the restaurants, where, to your point, everything is as much as possible locally sourced and tying in, it really creates more and more of those avenues, like you said, to create the bonds locally and to build the trust and the integrity and the respect. How has that played out, if any, in terms of, that role in your world, in terms of that farm to table movement? Has that been something, because I mean, you're kind of talking about it there in terms of supply chain, but has that played a role on your end too?
Yeah, we believe so. And like I mentioned earlier, we're having those tours that are coming by today. And I think people are really interested in terms of coming out and seeing the process. And they're really willing to take that time and pay a little bit of extra money to understand where that food comes from. And my sister, she's had really good support for those tours. So I think it's something we're going to pursue and help educate people and show them that this is where our brand starts, and the creamery is kind of where it finishes. So yeah, it's been cool to see that. And I think it'll translate to good business also.
Very cool. We'll wrap up
Mhm.
with contact information. Where do we go? Website, social media, the whole 9 yards. So talking about Nash Family Creamery, where do we go?
Yeah, so you can follow us on our Facebook page and then our Instagram page. We keep up with those on a daily basis and respond to questions and comments and everything in between. So those are two really good places to follow us for the most part. We also have a website at nashfamilycreamery.com. And we have a phone number you can call in also. So.
And all the Facebook and Instagram is Nash Family Creamery. So that makes it very easy. So Nash Family Creamery and then nashfamilycreamery.com. So Cody Nash, thank you for all you do. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. We appreciate it.